I had created a business on my own. Mm-hmm. It was becoming very successful. I was to the point where I was looking for a brick and mortar and about to hire on my own employees and like take it to the next level. And I moved here and it was like kind of like a screeching halt.
Mm-hmm. And that's how we start every episode.
That should be our audio tag.
It really should be.
That would be good.
Yeah. Welcome to Design, Build, Sell. We're a podcast that profiles the luxury home market. And I'm your host, Arby Gallup.
I'm Sarah Bennett.
Alisha Dobbie.
We have joined forces together to bring you our perspectives on the luxury market.
We're going around. We will be sharing a little bit about each of us individually these first few episodes. So we're going to kick things off here with Miss Alisha.
I am the design element in Design, Build, Sell. And I'm 34 years old. And I've been married to my husband for 12 years. We have 3 kids, ages 9, 7, and 2. And I'm an interior designer and recently just came on board with Gallup Design Build as their full-time in-house designer. So that's been a fun new challenge.
Yes.
So Alisha, before you joined Gallup Design Build, how'd you get started in interior design?
So, interesting story. It was in 2016 and I lived in Florida at the time, and I was at a time in my life where I had just had my kids and I was a stay-at-home mom and I was looking to get back into work, and my husband fortunately was able to financially support us, and he was like, this is your time. Like, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? Like, plan it and go do it. And he really pushed me to do it because I was so nervous and I was like, I don't really have any formal education in design. And that was my goal, was to jump into interior design and like, what was that going to look like? Mm-hmm. Again, didn't have formal education in it. I was designing for friends and family starting off. And I was like, my goal is to create a portfolio. I knew that. That was my step one. Whether I was doing the work for free or if I was charging like minimal amounts, I was like, my goal is to just show people what type of design work I can do. Instagram was like definitely not what it was today, but Instagram was relevant enough where I was like, I can create an account, showcase my work there, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So I started off small projects. I'm talking like, oh, you just want new decor? Cool. Let's do a refresh. And then that led into doing full one-room designs and then whole house designs. And then one day I got approached by someone who was like, have you ever done commercial design? And I was like, no, like I know nothing about it. That kind of scares me. And she was like, well, I'm building a dental office from the ground up. Like, I need someone to help me through the process. I love your style. I would love if you accepted this challenge and let's work together. And I said yes, because that's the type of person I am. And that opened a lot of doors for me. Not only did it open up doors like professionally, I then started getting contracted by other dentists, which is really funny because my brother's a dentist and this was before he had a practice, that wanted me to design their practice. It really showed me that I like had a love for remodel and new build construction. I had that like niche of design work that I was like, I enjoy this. I want to crush this. Like, this is what I want to move forward doing.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, I'll tell the story of when we first met.
Yeah.
I was kind of at a crossroads with our current design offerings. We were working with outside contractors, interior designers. And ultimately, I really kind of knew I wanted to bring it in-house and have a team member. And we were sitting here discussing, would you be interested in doing some 1099 stuff or working with us? And I said, I just threw it out there. It's like, ultimately, I'd really like to have it in-house and employee. And Alisha,
my eyes probably lit up.
Yeah, no, you were like, well, that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a place to land and grow and get help take it to the next level and really a home, if you will.
Yeah, for sure.
And you also said, to kind of echo what you were saying about the commercial and the remodel, you also said your love language, I believe is the term you used.
Sounds right.
was new construction and construction builds versus furnishing and decor. And that was like, all right, sweet. We've got something here.
Yeah. It really is. And especially moving from Tampa to South Carolina, the design style in the South is very different from my personal taste or projects that I typically do. I think it's beautiful. I have respect for it. I love it, but it's like heavy pattern, fabrics, wallpaper. Like it was just like, I don't really gravitate toward that naturally. Sure, I can do those things for clients, but I really have a love for the construction process and just what I call like hard finishes versus the soft finishes. The hard finishes is like the design of the house, the elements of the house, creating that, versus soft finishes are the pretty throw-ins, the rugs, the furniture, and all that.
I think I referred to it as the frou-frou stuff.
The frou-frou
stuff, yeah.
And I'm not, that's people like doing that and they're great at it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's not what we do.
Yeah.
So I met Alisha. I like to brag that I was, first friend in South Carolina. But we met and we truly like instantly just clicked. We clicked, our husbands clicked, our kids were the exact same age. And it just was like, it was too good to be true. I was like,
yeah, it was easy.
It was just so organic and natural. But when I first met you, you were doing a ton of work in Tampa. Like you mentioned, you still like for the probably like year or 2 years, you were going back and forth.
Yeah. I just stopped actually.
Exactly. So I would love for you to tell people about how you went from that transition from building this amazing business in Tampa and then being told, oh, I'm moving to South Carolina, and then trying to make that work and then now turn into what it is today.
Yeah. So that was really hard for me. We moved to South Carolina in like 2018, I think it was, for my husband's job, which at the time when he approached me with the conversation, I was like, don't even ever ask me to move. I would never even consider it. And then obviously realizing that he was also chasing a passion and a dream of his, I was like, let's do it. It was really hard because I had created a business on my own. It was becoming very successful. I was to the point where I was looking for a brick and mortar and about to hire on my own employees and like take it to the next level. And I moved here and it was like kind of like a screeching halt. It was like kind of traumatizing in a way. So I refused to let go of that for the longest time. Sarah knows. So yeah, the first 2 to 3 years we lived here, I went back to Florida almost monthly. Yeah. Anytime my kids had a long weekend from school, any major holiday, anytime I had to fly back for a client project, like I was not letting go of that because at that point I didn't know how long we were going to be in South Carolina. And it's just like, I didn't have anything here. Like I didn't know anyone. Like my business.
I will not take that personally.
Right.
At the time. It's a lot of it's referral based. And like when you're coming somewhere new and it's like I said, it's a different element of design. I don't think I was received the same right off the bat.
My wife likes to say I kidnapped her as well. But
you were doing some stuff here. It was just more like those small, like you mentioned, like when you started in Tampa, like those like room decor.
Right. And I was like frustrated. I felt like I was like taking a step back, like starting to do things that I did at my beginning of my career in Florida. But it's like, that's how you build a portfolio and a name for yourself in a new place. You just got to take on any project you can and just roll with it.
That's a great perspective. Like that's a really, humbling way to look at it. And I'm sure it probably made you work extra harder, that's pretty awesome. So I will say, like, I used to hate on Florida, like the Florida man. Florida's pretty cool. I go down there a lot with my wife. Yeah. And there's beaches and it's pretty nice.
It's a lot going on. Nice. It was like not only coming from like the Tampa area where there's obviously just like a lot to do. My parents, my brother, his children, same with my in-laws and brother-in-law and stuff. So grandparents, like everyone was there. So it was like, not only did I get removed from my like professional life, it was like my personal life too. And I just was like brought into a new place and was like, all right, make something of it.
I think even also like you were talking about how you felt like you were starting over again. It's like that's mentally and emotionally kind of, jarring. And then also trying to prove yourself to a new market. I know one thing that you went through was just people loving the idea of an interior designer, but not willing to pay for it. Once you actually tell someone how to pay, which by the way, Alisha designed our house. And I mean, I can't imagine doing what she does, but
if it's good enough for the Bennetts,
it's good enough for everyone. But going from that and being able to explain to people why they need you, I'm sure that was really difficult at first. Like
Yeah, I mean,
proving that.
Some people don't see the value,
Mm-hmm.
or they're just like, think an interior designer is like, oh, I don't really need you to buy me anything new. Just come through my house and tell me where to place things. It's like, that's not really what I do.
Yeah.
So like kind of showcasing what I do more on Instagram. And that got me like heavy on my marketing even more. Like I said, I just stopped taking Florida clients like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I found both of y'all, actually.
Yeah.
How we all kind of connected just through Instagram.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I manifested this relationship here. RV's like, where are you going? So in my time of being like really frustrated in the first couple years we moved here, and like truly I felt kind of lost in a way. I just like went back into like a meditative state and was like, what would I like to happen here? Like, what would I want? And I remember like standing in my bathroom at our house being like, my end goal would be to design for a custom home builder because that's just what I love to do. And this was like 3 years ago, so nothing like super relevant. But I just remember like saying it out loud, writing it down, and like reading it over and over and over again. And then RB reached out like the beginning of this year. I was like, hey, would you want to come in for an interview, or at least just to talk to see if this is something you want to take on? And I was just like, this is it.
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
So kind of talking about where you've landed now, what do you do at Gout Design Build? You know, tell everyone what your role is and kind of how that looks.
So,
because you're not moving around other people's furniture.
No, I'm not handling furniture at the moment.
Except mine.
Yeah, except for helping out in the office. So when I got hired on here, I was obviously doing what I always do. Working with the clients hand in hand for selections, helping them design a beautiful house. But RB was like, there's going to be a little bit more to it, right? Because we're a team here. I had an expectation of developing kind of a formalized design process, which made sense to me because I've done the houses before. But it was like, how does it make sense for what y'all do and our team members and how you run your business? And you know, I'm like still actually kind of tweaking it. It's been a few months. So it's like, sounds great on paper, but until you execute it, you know, we're like fine tuning it. So working with the clients first and foremost, and then being in huge contact with project managers, with everyone on our team, Vicky, RB, Rob. I mean, I've noticed that probably me and Rob are going to be working really close together. He's our purchase estimator. And it's just taking the clients from that ground up to the finish line. Yeah.
Kind of being their guide, if you will.
Yes. I've become buddy with everybody because I feel like I get so emotionally invested in my projects or our projects because you're really talking to these people sometimes daily, weekly, 9, 10, and 12 months. You know, I mean, you really develop a relationship with someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of to go off of that, what do you like most about that job and that profession?
So obviously I'm a creative. Like the creative part of my job is just, I love it. No two houses are the same. Every house has different elements and obviously client preferences, and some clients want to just add in different elements and design taste. So I love it. There's nothing that repeats itself, and it allows me to be super creative and like have that process come to life.
I love when I look at your Instagram, you know, for years now. And even now I'm like, oh man, she did that in this one house. I should have done that. That's a great idea. But you're right. Like no two are the same.
Yeah.
But I think it's awesome to have somebody with your eye that can help guide people and give them that best advice of like, yes, this will look good. Because I think a lot of people struggle. They see the overall picture and they say, yeah, like I love the way this looks, but to put it all together is so difficult. I can't imagine doing that every day.
Or people go on Pinterest, which don't get me wrong, I love me Pinterest, but it also hurts our clients because they're like, I want this and I like that. And then they realize they like too many things. Yeah. And then they can't make a decision.
Yeah. And also some of those things on Pinterest are very expensive.
Yeah, have you seen Usher's house?
No.
I like Usher's house. No, I'm saying that's.
I haven't.
I was like, what? Have we? No.
Yeah. And well, to talk about style too, it does vary a lot, but I saw yours as being very ahead of the curve for this market. I think it's good that it's not typical of what you see around here.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that attracted me about you working here is like, okay, it's going to be fresh. It's going to be clean. I mean, it's something I like myself. I don't want to hire someone whose design I don't like. You know?
Yeah, for sure. No, and that was the same type of thing that got me excited about working for Gallup. I was like, the type of homes you were producing, I was like, this is where I'm trying to be, what I'm trying to do. You know, it wasn't out of my element or out of my range of design, because that can be hard.
Good way. It's elevating it and really changing it. I don't want to create the same houses we've created last year and the year before. And everyone's talking about, farmhouses are maybe dying off and whatnot.
A little bit, yeah.
That's probably not happening yet really in this market.
No,
but we're ahead of it. We're getting ahead of it. And we can kind of lead the way. And it would be great to have everyone else chase us,
Absolutely. Yeah.
A little competitive.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So like you were saying, how no two projects are the same, does that create other challenges for you as well, though?
Yes. So outside of just like typical construction challenges, those don't affect me as much as probably RB and the project managers. My biggest challenges are like, I hate to say it because it's also part of my favorite part of my projects, is like the client sometimes. There can be a challenge when, I'm inserting my professional opinion while they're inserting their opinion. And it's just like that delicate dance of like allowing them to make decisions, because obviously it's their house and their money, and we want to respect that. But like sometimes they don't have a good design eye and you have to like, reel them in a little bit. So
that was a constant worry when we were building our house. I can't tell you how many meetings we would go to with like builders or contractors or whatever, and they would ask us our opinion, and my husband Josh and I would look at each other, and then we just slowly turn and look at Alisha, because we're like, you tell us what's going to look good. But even then, like there are a few things like I was like, I dead set want this. And then I remember like looking at you and saying, please tell me if this is not going to look good.
Yeah.
Like I definitely want to know.
Yeah. And please know that about me, because I will be honest with you.
Yeah.
Clients ask me all the time, like, you're going to tell me if this will look bad. I was like, absolutely. Because it has Gallup's name on it, my name on it. Like, we're producing a product here. I'm not going to be like, look at this tacky house we just designed. Like, trust me, I'm going to let you know if what you like looks good.
Yeah. Nothing worse than a house you can't share on Instagram.
Exactly. It's like, we're going to skip that project.
So has the process from when you were working on new builds in Florida versus now, like working with RB and with Gallup, is there a lot of similarities? Is it vastly different? Because it sounds like he's very regimented and has a nice setup in place.
Yeah, no, it is different, but in good ways. So now I'm a part of like the Gallup team. So I just like am a part of our client's package, where before clients were contracting me through themselves. So that aspect's a little different, because I wasn't tied into the back end of it, where now I'm seeing like specs and more in-depth of allowances, and like I have one-on-one relationships through Gallup with our vendors that I'm working with for quotes and estimates and stuff, whereas before me and the client would just go pick it out. They would relay it to their builder, and any overages or whatever, that was on them. So yeah, it is different in that way, and it's just more hands-on, I feel like, and I enjoy it. It's a new like learning curve, because it's like designing, but also kind of project management and like a little bit of sales and a ton of media marketing that I do. So yeah, it's a little different, but like I said, one of the main things that got me excited about working for Gallup was the process he has. Like, I noticed right off the rip how organized RB was, and how they just reading our client specs compared to other builder specs is like night and day.
Yeah.
Like, truly and honestly.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. Like, they're never good enough.
Right. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you're like setting expectations, and I think that gets kind of in a gray area with other builders. It's like the client thinks they know what they're getting, and then they don't really know. It's like, that's why we have our startup meetings here. Like, RB goes through the specs again with the client in front of me and in front of the project manager, so we're all on the same page and realizing what their allowances really are.
Yeah, it's super boring and redundant, but it's very
It's important.
Necessary.
And we usually come out of there with, 2 to 3 questions like, I'd maybe like to change this or that. And at least then we know it, and it's on everyone's mind. Sure. It's not something they say to Alisha and the project manager doesn't know.
Yeah. It keeps everybody in open communication.
Do you feel like there's any like common questions that the client will have that you hear on a repetitive basis in terms of like, oh, well, why can't we just change this? Or what, like, is there anything that's like super normal that you get questions in terms of the interior design process?
The number one question is always, how much is that going to cost?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I'm like, well, I don't know. Let me take it back to the team and we'll get you a change order.
Yeah.
It's just, again, it goes back to being upfront and honest.
Yeah.
And we try to quantify what they're going to get with those specs. So there's no question, well, you sold me something that I'm not getting.
Right.
And we want to eliminate or try to eliminate that gray area and kind of capture it.
Yeah.
So outside of work, do you have any?
Do I have a life?
Interests?
No. I have 3 kids. So as you can imagine, outside of work is all about family life. And I'm kind of in like a 2 phase of life with my kids. Like my older 2 are in elementary school and like sports and like fairly independent. And I have a toddler, a 2-year-old who's just wild as heck. So yeah,
he's cute. I call him Tarzan.
He does look like Tarzan. I could totally see that.
He's my favorite.
While my life is busy and chaotic, I've really shifted my mindset from being like always stressed out and just being like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted, to really, I like feel like I'm living the best years right now because I have people like my mom who's like, you're going to miss your messy house and your loud house when your kids are gone. Like, these are your prime years. Like, you guys are in good health, and I just like remind myself of that all the time. Yeah. And I really feel that way now. Like, I just thrive in the chaos and I love it. And like I mentioned, most of our family, all of our families in Florida. So it's really like me and my husband have grown so much closer and just more hands-on with our kids, because before they had both sets of grandparents to watch when we needed to go over on the weekends, and just, we don't have that here. So like me and my husband have talked about how we just have loved like how our immediate family is just so tight-knit now. And our relationships with our kids have just become really strong and cool. And so anything that we're doing is together, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to talking about your like controlled chaos life, you have 3 children who all of which I love with all my heart. Yes. But you said, you went from, now you're working more full time, and that's also been a huge change in finding that new balance in your life. Yeah. How is that? I feel like you found that balance. I feel like you found it.
Is it really balanced? Like, is that a thing? No, it's been a huge like shift in dynamic. Yeah. When we first moved here, we didn't have our youngest at the time, and I was working full-time in Florida. So when I moved here and I didn't have that full-time routine, I was like, what is this? And then I got pregnant and had a baby, and then I jumped back into like that newborn infant motherhood phase where I was working, but not obviously all the time. I love to spend like the first year of my kid's life with them as much as I can. To fast forward now, I work full time, and it's been challenging. I feel like it might be a double standard. Like, I feel like moms feel a little bit more of like a mom guilt. Yeah. Because it's just like expected for the man or the father to like be in the workforce and always working. And it's like left for the mom to, take care of the kids and figure stuff out. And I'm fortunate that my spouse has like heard me verbalize that, like, I see us as equals, as you mentioned about Alex. And he does. And he's like, I want to be there to help you also fulfill your career, because like we moved here for mine. And he's like very appreciative of that and always thanking me. And now Sarah's going to laugh. I would have never said it, trust me, a few years ago, but I love living in South Carolina and I never want to leave.
This is the most validating conversation I have ever had in my life. Okay.
Yes. It took me a long time to get to that though. No.
Sarah's a Spartanburg native.
That is absolutely incorrect. Please don't be spreading false information.
She grew up eating liver mush.
Okay, well, we'll get into liver. I'll fry it up for y'all and make y'all some of that now. Well, I, for one, am so thankful that you did leave Tampa and come here, both on a personal basis, because you are someone that is a huge part of my life. But I also have loved. I always get very emotional talking about Alisha. I don't know why, but I have truly loved watching you thrive in your career, and I love seeing you succeed. It truly makes me happy, like watching you succeed like that.
You.
I know. Now my eyes are getting all watering.
Oh, well, just trying to keep up with you.
Oh, stop.
Successful woman in business.
Y'all want me to just leave?
No.
Alisha, I just think it's pretty remarkable to kind of hear your story. And I think you really key into a couple of reasons that we've created this podcast, not to just promote ourselves and talk about our companies, but really kind of share our perspectives on what it's like to work in the industry. And you're bringing in some good life kind of insights to what it's like to have a family and to also go after a career. And, it's really fascinating to hear that about you.
Thanks. Yeah. Like I said, figuring it out, and we'll sleep when we're dead, right?
All right. That's the best way. That's the best ending for this. We'll sleep when we're dead. End.